My husband Ryan is 5 years younger than me. When he turned 28, I was already 33. He used to tell me that age would never be an issue between us. But later, he told his best friend something that shattered me. I don't know why, but ever since Sarah hit 30, I find her kind of disgusting. After that, he found himself a young mistress who looked just like me, 3 parts similar, to be exact. He gave me his love and gave her his lust, thinking himself perfectly justified in having both until I served him divorce papers. I smiled as I told him, "You know, dating and marrying an older woman actually has one major advantage. I know how to play the game, and I know how to lose gracefully. Sometimes a woman's intuition is razor sharp." When Ryan was in the shower that Thursday night, his phone rang. A local number, no caller ID. I answered it. "Hello," I said twice, then asked, "Who is this?" The person on the other end said nothing and hung up immediately. Just those few seconds of silence created an understanding between us. They knew who I was, and I sensed something was very wrong. I unlocked Ryan's phone and searched for that number in his contacts. Found her in his social media apps, a girl with a cute cartoon avatar. Username Peachy Girl. No contact name saved. And message notifications turned off. Their chat history was clean. Just one unread message. "I miss you." 4 words that made my heart clench. I thought Ryan might be having an affair. My hand holding the phone suddenly felt powerless. I clicked on the girl's profile. Her cover photo was probably of her hair in a bun, lips pursed, radiating youth. She was genuinely pretty. I didn't look closely, just took a quick screenshot. She posted frequently. I scrolled quickly through her feed, then stopped at one particular status update. She had written, "For transfers, I only need $190, not a penny more." Below was a screenshot of a chat between her and Ryan. His username, Princess's Provider. She had asked Ryan, "Where's that $190 you promised?" Ryan had transferred $2,000. She didn't accept it and sent it back. "I only need $190. Ryan replied with a string of ellipses but still transferred the smaller amount. She said, "Do you know what 199 means? It means I want to be with you for a long time." I took screenshots without any expression. After exiting the girl's profile, I went to check Ryan's transaction history. I examined all their money transfers, scrolling endlessly through the records. The largest fixed amount was $5,000 at the beginning of each month, consistently for 3 months. Beyond that, there were countless transfers of 1,000, 2,100, 200, including special numbers, 199, 120, 1314, all the cutesy romantic amounts young couples use. I screenshotted each transaction. Throughout this entire process, I remained completely calm. When I exited, I even remembered to mark their chat as unread. "What's wrong?" "You look spaced out," Ryan said, stepping out of the bathroom while towel drying his hair. Looking at me curiously, I snapped back to reality and looked up at him. He had only a bath towel wrapped around his waist, broad shoulders, narrow waist, perfect 8-pack abs. Ryan always maintained his physique excellently. People used to envy me for this. With looks like his, as long as he's not committing murder or arson. What couldn't you forgive? Besides, he's so devoted to you. I had always believed Ryan was devoted to me, but apparently that was just my assumption. Oh, by the way, someone called you earlier but hung up without saying anything. You should check it out. Probably just spam. Don't worry about it. Ryan casually took his phone, tossed the hair towel into the laundry basket, and grabbed his cigarette pack from the table. He went out to the balcony to smoke. I didn't like the smell of cigarettes, so Ryan always smoked on the balcony, except tonight. He wasn't really going out there to smoke. Just a moment later, Ryan came back inside. He got dressed while talking to me. "Honey, I need to go out for a bit. Emergency at work. Don't wait up for dinner." "What happened?" "The equipment at the Harbor City site is acting up. I don't know if it's cursed or what, but it worked fine during testing. The moment it's in production, either the screen glitches or the applications crash. I need to go check it out. If it gets too late, I'll just sleep at the office." "Is Derek going with you?" "Yeah." "How ridiculous. Truth, evidence, even a witness all perfectly arranged." I nodded. "Drive safely." Ryan left in a hurry. I stared at our wedding photo on the wall for a long time. I really didn't understand why would Ryan cheat? And this girl, who was she, her appearance, the financial transactions between her and Ryan, her social media posts, each detail replayed in my mind. Suddenly, I grasped something. I hurriedly grabbed my phone. This girl, I had met her before. It was about 6 months ago. Ryan had been brought to the police station for fighting. I went to bail him out. His condition wasn't too bad, just a scrape on his cheek, but his mental state was terrible, eyes fierce, full of aggression. I hadn't seen Ryan like this since his teenage years. He had beaten his opponent bloody, clearly using excessive force. The other party was screaming for an apology and compensation. Ryan just snorted coldly. If I hadn't held him back, he would have lunged forward again. After everything was settled, I led him away. A girl in a work uniform ran up to us, extremely grateful to Ryan. "Sir, if you hadn't been there today, I really don't know what would have happened. Thank you so much." I looked at Ryan in confusion. His face showed clear impatience. "I suggest you find a different job." The girl looked distressed. "If I had any other choice, I wouldn't." Ryan became even more irritated and rudely cut her off. "Not my problem. Do whatever you want." That day, Jessica came with me. When Ryan brushed off the girl and strode ahead, Jessica pulled me aside. "Don't you think that girl looks like you? 3 or 4 parts similar." I laughed, thinking Jessica was overthinking, but I couldn't help turning back to look at the girl a few more times. The image in my memory matched the photo in front of me. It was her. Ryan didn't come home all night. He didn't return until the evening of the next day, bringing me Sichuan spicy hot pot. "Your favorite?" I waited in line all afternoon. "Eat while it's hot. I'm going to shower." "Okay." Ryan went into the bathroom. I took the spare key and the takeout container, heading straight down to the underground garage. The car had been washed, spotless. The passenger seat was adjusted back to my usual position. Everything seemed normal. But I wasn't interested in those details. I wanted to check the dash cam. I reviewed all the footage from yesterday until today. Ryan had driven to the university on the south side of the city. He called the girl with just 2 words. "Come down." The girl bounced into the passenger seat. Sounds of kissing. Heavy breathing. "Did you touch that old hag?" "Shut up." "Did you or didn't you?" Ryan's voice was thick with desire. "What do you think?" The girl sounded smug. "Everything belongs to me. Don't beg for mercy later." The car's speed showed the driver's urgency. They stopped at a residential complex near the university. The camera showed footage again at 10 the next morning. Only Ryan was in the car. The video played silently. I sat frozen in the car, muscles tense to the point of pain. I was about to turn off the screen when I heard the phone ring. It was Derek Kim, Ryan's childhood best friend. Where are you? Why aren't you here yet? On my way. Damn, being this late isn't like you. Were you off visiting your little peachy girl again? Ryan made a sound of acknowledgement. Derek seemed at a loss for words. Come on. Man, you're seeing her way too often. Are you serious about this? Ryan chuckled. What's real? What's fake? Don't play dumb. I thought you were just fooling around, but now it's becoming long-term. Didn't you used to be madly in love with Sarah? Why the sudden affair? This question seemed to leave Ryan speechless. After a long pause, he finally spoke. Sarah is 33 now, so I don't know why, but ever since she turned 30, I find her kind of disgusting. How long had it been since Ryan touched me? I lit a cigarette and thought about it. It seemed to start around 6 months ago. That was when my work became extremely busy. To get promoted, I worked overtime constantly, pulling all-nighters. Every day when I got home, I just wanted to sleep. Ryan would hold me, wanting to kiss me. I'd push him away. Don't. I'm exhausted. Maybe next time. The first time, Ryan didn't mind and even felt sorry for me. The second time, he was unhappy but still tolerated it without getting angry. The third time, he was furious and slammed the door before leaving. Later, I found him at a bar. I realized this wasn't good, so I embraced him and accepted his passionate kiss. That time wasn't pleasant at all. I even felt pain. Ryan noticed and immediately stopped. That night, he turned his back to me. The first time he didn't hold me while sleeping. I felt helpless, not knowing how to fix things or comfort him, but he quickly seemed to comfort himself. He said it was his fault for being too rushed. Don't overthink it, and don't take it to heart. Once you're done with work, we'll take a vacation. I thought everything was fine. He was still good to me, even though he no longer held me while sleeping. Even though we hadn't been intimate in 6 months, he was still good to me. But now he was saying he found me disgusting. That word, from the moment I heard it until now, made me feel cold whenever I remembered it. My hand holding the cigarette wouldn't stop shaking. Ash fell onto my hand, burning me. But it still couldn't compare to the hurt that single word brought. Ryan called me, asking where I was and why I wasn't home yet. I told him I was downstairs throwing out trash and would be up soon. He grunted and said, I'll go to sleep first then. By the time I went upstairs, Ryan was fast asleep, facing left, close to the edge of the bed, leaving me more than half the space. I didn't get into bed. I just sat on the edge, staring at Ryan's back all night. The year I met him, he was 18, newly admitted to college in this city, a rebellious teenager carrying his parents' expectations. He had run away right after receiving his acceptance letter, bringing nothing but a backpack. His brother was worried and asked me to help, telling me to pick him up at the train station. He doesn't have money on him, and school hasn't started yet. Let him stay at your place for a while. This kid is stubborn if he says something that upsets you. Just hit him. I thought Mark was being ridiculous. No matter what, Ryan was a grown young man. I couldn't let him stay with me. I had already prepared to rent him a separate apartment. But he looked so pitiful and well-behaved. When I picked him up at the station, he was squatting under a big tree, clutching his bag tightly, looking like an abandoned puppy. He obediently came home with me. Before I could even suggest he stay elsewhere, he grabbed my sleeve and started his pitiful plea. Please, I'll be really good. I'll cook for you and clean the house. Please don't kick me out. I found his words amusing, but he really did cook for me every day and even picked me up from work on his little electric scooter. From the moment he appeared, My cold rental room suddenly became warmer. Coming home from work each day no longer felt rushed. We lived together for a month. Then I was the one who packed his things and took him to school. Initially, I thought it was just a brief time living together, but later, he told me he had chosen that university because of me. He said he had met me once when he was 16. From then on, all his expectations were directed toward me. This man, when he was still just a boy, had brought his whole heart to me. I had fallen deep, but now he wanted to take it back. I had to quickly crawl out of this swamp too. I want a divorce. What? Ryan is cheating. What? Isn't he on a business trip? I smiled coldly. On a business trip with his mistress. Early morning. My 3 sentences left Jessica completely stunned. Wait, let me process this. You're saying Ryan is cheating, and his so-called business trip is actually with his mistress. How do you know this? I handed Jessica my phone, showing Peachy Girl's latest status update from this morning. Ryan was pulling luggage with one hand and holding her hand with the other. She had cheerfully posted, "Running away to play." Actually, I had added her as a friend just to test things. I didn't expect her to accept. Whether she knew the person adding her was me didn't matter. I told Jessica, "Ryan is on a 3-day business trip. Can I have divorce papers ready in 3 days?" Jessica's face darkened. "I'll draft them myself." I nodded and reminded her, "Don't tell Derek." Jessica was Derek's wife. They had a difficult journey to be together, and I only knew her through Ryan. Unexpectedly, we had become good friends. Fate really is a mysterious thing. Some people remain strangers even after knowing each other for years, while others become close friends after just meeting. I know, don't worry. Actually, Jessica hesitated. What? Jessica started to say something, then stopped, finally shaking her head. Nothing. We'll talk later. How are you holding up? Do you need me to come with you? I declined with a bitter smile. I have a 10 o'clock flight. I have to go on a business trip, too. This was the adult world. No matter how much pain you're in, you still have to make time. I gave Jessica the photos from Ryan's phone and a copy of the surveillance footage, plus a detailed list of our joint assets. The only blessing was that we didn't have children yet. Jessica worked efficiently. By the time I returned from my business trip that afternoon, she had already drafted the divorce agreement. Even though he's at fault, making him leave with nothing isn't possible. But I'll do my best to help you get the maximum benefit. Even the money he gave to his mistress can be recovered. If you make a mistake, you pay the price. I was about to say something when Jessica cut me off. Don't say you don't need it. He's the one at fault, so he should compensate you. Even the money he gave to that girl can be demanded back. Actions have consequences. I smiled softly and hugged her. I do need it. I never said I didn't. Jessica, thank you. She gently patted my back. It's nothing major, just a divorce. I'm here for you. That night, Jessica and I drank heavily. We talked about many things, the past, the future, hopes, regrets, until we were both drunk and fell asleep on the carpet. The next morning, I was woken by my alarm. I called in sick, applied light makeup, and despite feeling terrible, I had to go out. I wanted to meet Ryan, thanks to Peachy Girl's love for showing off. I had detailed information about her and Ryan's entire 3-day itinerary. They had ridden roller coasters, soaked in hot springs, gone bungee jumping. These were all things I had never experienced with Ryan. He loved thrills, loved the rush of adrenaline, but I couldn't handle those things. He had once begged me to go tandem bungee jumping with him. He said it would be romantic. He even wanted to take wedding photos that way. But when I stood on the jumping platform, I couldn't step forward. Ryan said it was okay, but I knew he was disappointed, thinking about it now. Ryan and I had too many incompatibilities. When love blinds you, we both said love could overcome any obstacle. Now it seemed like someone had been lying. Ryan walked out wearing sunglasses, looking indifferent. Beside him, Emma linked her arm through his, chattering nonstop. She walked lightly, with a bright smile on her face, both innocent and adorable. Let's come here again next time. Okay, for your birthday. This is the first time we've been together and… Ryan! I raised my hand and called out loudly. Emma probably didn't hear me and continued talking. Ryan froze. He pushed Emma away and quickly turned to look at me. In that moment, I felt like a raging flood facing me. Emma was still flustered, standing there timidly, wanting to approach Ryan but not daring to. She looked quite pitiful too. Ryan quickly regained his composure. He told Emma, "Go ahead first." Emma suddenly looked up at Ryan, her mouth pursed in grievance, eyes brimming with tears. She didn't want to leave, so I played the good person. Let's go together. It's hard to get a ride here. Ryan frowned deeply and sternly told Emma, "Aren't you going?" Emma jumped back 2 steps. My face also turned cold. I said, "Together." Emma was quite interesting. In this situation, any normal person would have fled long ago, but she actually followed along. I walked in front. Ryan followed behind me, and she trailed behind Ryan. Ryan opened the passenger door. About to get in, I stopped him. "There are things in there. Sit in the back. It's not right to leave a young lady sitting alone." Ryan looked at me with an emotionless face, his eyes containing a sea of suppressed feelings. He snorted and slammed the car door shut with a bang, then climbed into the back seat. The atmosphere in the car was truly suffocating. I was the one who broke the silence. "Miss Davis, my husband and I need to talk. Should you come with us? Or should I drop you off at school first?" Suddenly being addressed, Emma looked a bit confused. Ryan suddenly spoke up. "What exactly do you want to do?" Through the rearview mirror, I glanced at Ryan. His face showed extreme impatience. He was angry. Suppressing his anger, this made me feel perversely pleased. So the smile on my face gradually spread wider. "What's your major?" "Miss Davis." "German?" I was a bit surprised. "Same as me. I have a friend who teaches at your school." I mentioned a name and asked her, "Do you know her?" Emma's face changed, her voice weak. "Yes, she's my class advisor." I laughed. What a coincidence. Finally, I dropped Emma off at school. When she got out of the car, she hurried away without looking back. I asked Ryan, "Do you have a place rented nearby? Let's go sit there for a bit." Ryan's eyes remained fixed on me. He gritted his teeth, word by word. "What exactly do you want?" I dropped my expression. "You made me sick the whole way here. Now let's talk about divorce." We didn't end up going to that rental place. We stayed in the car. Ryan lit a cigarette and fell silent. From the moment I mentioned divorce until now, he hadn't said a word. I also remained silent. After deliberately being disgusting the whole way, I now felt bored. Making him sick was also making myself sick, wasn't it? I took out my cigarette pack and lit one. "How long?" Ryan's voice was hoarse. "What? You smoking? How long?" I was 5 years older than Ryan. When he was still in college, I was already working. Back then, as a newcomer to the profession, the pressure was enormous. I started smoking. Ryan forced me to quit. He said, It's bad for your health. He said, I'll buy you candy. He said, if that doesn't work, you can hit me to vent your anger. Just don't smoke anymore. Later, I really did quit, never touching cigarettes again. Until now. It had been 7 or 8 years. But because of this incident, I had relapsed. If you want the specific time, I thought about it and said, the day after you spent the night at Emma's place. Ryan's hand trembled slightly. The cigarette ash fell onto the leather seat before it was finished, immediately burning a hole. Ryan hurriedly brushed it away, but it was too late. Still, he stubbornly tried to smooth it out, over and over, using more and more force. Finally, he lost control completely, exploded, and kicked the car door hard. Damn it, he said. I can't salvage this, and you won't forgive me either, right? Right. He laughed mockingly and held out his hand toward me. The divorce papers. He didn't read the contents. He flipped to the last page and signed his name. I won't go back to that house anymore. I'll arrange a time to collect my things. After saying this, he decisively got out of the car, leaning against the car door. He spoke to someone on the phone. Come out here. I'm not going back to school tonight. Yeah. I'm waiting for you at the school gate. After hanging up, he raised his eyebrows and looked at me. Contact me when you want to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau. Maybe you feel like you're punching cotton. Both frustrated and annoyed. He did that on purpose. I curled my lips and drained my wine glass. I know maybe I hadn't reacted quickly enough at first, but by now, I had long since recognized the flavor. Ryan had always been an extremely arrogant person. His attitude toward people and situations was, I'm not wrong, even if I am wrong. What can you do about it? I understood him. I had also predicted how he would react. But even though I was prepared, facing his indifference still irritated me. My hand holding the wine glass trembled slightly. I really thought I could at least get an apology. We always hope to receive sincere remorse from those who wrong us, as if only that way can our wounds be soothed. Otherwise, it's just not satisfying. From 18 to 28, 10 years, those were also 10 years of my life. I went from being indifferent to falling deep. He was the one who pulled me in. When he loved me, he gave me honey. When he stopped loving me, he put me through hell. He should have said sorry to me. The negative emotions kept tormenting me repeatedly, making me lose control. I took 2 days off work. I stayed home, not going anywhere. I cried. I cursed. I broke down. Finally, I calmed down because of a phone call from my boss. He said there were adjustments to the contract figures and asked me to revise them quickly. I opened my laptop and focused on work. 2 hours later, I sent him the new contract. Next Wednesday, Director Zhang is coming. You'll come with me. Yes. After finishing work, I collapsed onto the sofa and suddenly felt confused. Was I really that miserable? Ryan was my choice. No one forced me. No one threatened me. So all the things that happened afterward, I had to bear myself and take responsibility. If you dare to gamble, you must dare to lose. So, Sarah, can't you afford to lose? No, I could afford to lose. On the 4th day after signing the divorce agreement, I called Ryan. He answered very slowly, his tone cold. What is it? I made a sound of acknowledgement. Are you free tomorrow? Let's go to the Civil Affairs Bureau. There was silence on the other end for a few seconds. I'm on a business trip. We'll talk when I get back. How many days? Don't know. Ryan, I emphasized my tone. I need a timeline. You have to give me a timeline. I already said I don't know. Ryan's voice rose, carrying hidden impatience. Signed the divorce agreement. Are you afraid I'll run away? 2 days. What? I said, I'm giving you 2 days. The day after tomorrow. As long as you show up at the Civil Affairs Bureau, I'll preserve some dignity for you. If not, I'll tell your family and friends about your affair. The moment I finished speaking, the phone was hung up. I could imagine Ryan's fury. He might have even thrown his phone. I didn't care whether he was really busy or just making excuses. I only cared about whether my goal could be achieved quickly. But what surprised me was that the next evening, Ryan showed up at my door. Why are you here? I have something to ask. What? Ryan looked at me and suddenly laughed coldly. Don't I even have the right to enter now? His sarcastic tone made me frown. What exactly do you want to say? Ryan's face darkened. Sarah, you've gone too far. No matter what, this is between us. You shouldn't make things difficult for an innocent girl. What are you talking about? Won't you admit it? Ryan's eyes held a mocking look. Are you going to deny that Emma's scholarship being revoked has nothing to do with you? Emma, who's that? A deep voice suddenly rang out. Ryan jumped. Her? Mark slowly stepped out from behind me, his face expressionless as he looked at Ryan. Who is Emma? Ryan looked at me, then at him. Why are you here? I'm asking you. Who is Emma? It's none of your business. You tell me yourself, or I'll investigate. Ryan's lips pressed into a straight line, but he stubbornly refused to speak. I felt a slight headache coming on. All right, go inside first. I need to talk to him. Mark wanted to say something more, but I cut him off. This is between Ryan and me. Don't interfere. After some back and forth, Mark finally retreated to the room. Looking at Ryan, I sighed. I don't know anything about Emma's situation. If you think about it logically, you shouldn't have come to me if I really wanted to hurt her. With photos of you two together and evidence of you financially supporting her, I could have gotten her expelled. Ryan, I just want a divorce. I don't want to cause trouble. You, cheating, financial support, divorce, having an affair. You two want a divorce. I looked at Mark speechlessly. Can you please not eavesdrop? Mark ignored me, his eyes calmly fixed on Ryan. He shouted, Talk. This is between me and her. You don't need to interfere. I don't need to interfere. As soon as he finished speaking, Mark punched Ryan directly in the face. You bastard! Ryan had never been one to just take a beating. Even if he was in the wrong, he could still fight back with his fists. Watching the two men grappling with each other, I expressionlessly closed the door. Whether they stopped fighting when they left, I had no idea. The next morning at 8 sharp, I arrived at the Civil Affairs Bureau, took a number, and waited for Ryan. About 10 minutes later, Ryan appeared. He silently sat down next to me, his face still bearing bruises, looking haggard. Soon it was our turn. I stood up. Ryan suddenly grabbed my wrist tightly. His voice was hoarse. That day I lied to you. I didn't go looking for her. She and I are over. She called me saying her scholarship was revoked. I knew it wasn't you who did it. I was just suddenly very happy that I finally had a reason to come find you. I never thought about divorce. I never wanted to divorce you. Ryan's voice grew smaller and smaller, even becoming choked up. I had never been able to handle Ryan crying. When I first agreed to be with him, it was also because he had reddened his eyes for me. But now, Ryan, your crying makes me sick. Ryan gripped my hand tighter. He stared blankly for a long moment, then opened his mouth in confusion. What did you say? I yanked my hand free, tore up the paper in my hand. and took another number. Actually, from when this happened until now, we've never sat down and talked seriously. You never asked how I found out about your affair. Never asked what I knew. Let's clarify the whole process. Starting 6 months ago, our married life became unharmonious. You were upset, turned to drinking, and met Emma, maybe because she resembled me somewhat, maybe because she was younger and more vibrant. You couldn't control yourself and had an affair. Cheating was inherently wrong, but to justify yourself, you found fault with me. You said that since I turned 30, you found me somewhat disgusting because of the wrinkles on my face, because my body was no longer as full. You said I was like a withered flower that even from a distance gave off an unpleasant smell. Ryan, when you used those harsh words to describe me, do you know how disgusting you looked to me? I began to doubt myself. I wondered how blind I must have been to step in dog shit. The shit stuck to my shoe, and it had the nerve to complain that my shoe stank. The words I spoke without any mercy tore apart the last shred of dignity for both of us. The divorce proceedings went very smoothly. No complications, no arguments. The clerk reminded us to come back in a month to collect the certificate. I nodded. Ryan had already stood up and left. I called him back. When are you coming to collect your belongings? He didn't turn around. Throw them away. Throwing them away was definitely impossible. In the end, all of Ryan's belongings were packed up and taken away by Mark. After tidying up, Mark personally cooked a meal and opened a bottle of wine. Want a drink? I didn't refuse. Mark drank a bit hastily. After finishing one glass, he twitched the corner of his mouth and said, I really didn't know Ryan had those kinds of thoughts about you before. If I had known, I shook my head with a bitter smile. What if he had known, cut off our doomed relationship from the root? Such regrets were meaningless. I still remember when both families opposed us being together. Ryan said something, then he said, I don't know if I'll regret being with you in the future. I only know that if I'm not with you now, I'll definitely regret it. Did you stay with him because of that? I shook my head. No, it's just that back then, I thought the same way. I propped my chin up, gently swirling my wine glass. Actually, thinking back, when I was 20, I was much braver than I am now. Back then, I dared to move toward the future with a boy 5 years younger than me. Now I don't dare. I'm not even sure if I can start a new relationship. Sarah, Mark's eyes looked at me with complex emotions, guilt, sympathy, and things I couldn't understand. I smiled casually at him. Don't worry about me. I just suddenly saw things clearly. Love comes with great fanfare and leaves in ruins. What others give you was never meant to last. But it's okay. In this world, people die from illness, die from poverty, but no one dies from lack of love. Maybe I was a bit drunk too. Plus, Mark was an old friend, so I rambled on quite a bit. Mark remained silent, listening without saying another word. The next morning when I woke up, Mark was already gone. He had left me a note saying he had to catch a flight and couldn't wait for me. He said he had met a nice girl and would be preparing to settle down with her when he returned. He said, Sarah, take care. The turmoil in my heart from the divorce was quickly contained. My busy work schedule left me no time for self-pity, which actually helped soothe my emotions considerably. I hadn't thought about Ryan for a long time until Derek called me. Sarah, I know I shouldn't be contacting you, but Ryan has been hospitalized twice in the past 2 weeks for alcohol poisonings. We really can't stop him. Only you can talk sense into him now. Sarah, Ryan knows he was wrong. Derek probably didn't expect to be able to convince me, so when he saw me appear at the hospital, he looked shocked and quickly stood up to give me his seat. "I'll go outside for a smoke while you two talk." I disapproved and glanced at him. "Haven't you quit yet? Didn't Jessica get pregnant?" Derek's face stiffened, looking somewhat unnatural. He waved his hand and left without looking back. I turned around to find Ryan staring at me blankly. When our eyes met, he quickly looked away. "Ryan," I had just started to speak when he hurriedly interrupted me. He said, "My arm hurts. My left arm. It aches whenever it rains. That year, when we didn't see each other for 6 months, I told you my dad locked me up. Actually, I was in the hospital. Dad had beaten me and broken my arm. I never told you because I was afraid you'd worry. So why do you want to tell me now?" Ryan looked up, carefully watching me. I smirked. "Actually, telling me this now is completely inappropriate. If you had told me before, I would have felt heartbroken, felt that you were paying a price for me. But now, Ryan, that was your own decision. You sacrificed yourself for the person you loved. Whatever the consequences, good or bad, you have to bear them yourself. Just like me, the person I chose cheated on me. Whatever the consequences, good or bad, I have to bear them myself." The hopeful light in Ryan's eyes gradually dimmed. He turned his face away. "If you won't give me even a little chance, then why did you come here?" I looked down at him. "I came to tell you not to seek death. And don't mess up my remarriage registration in 2 weeks. Ryan, I just want a divorce. I don't want to become a widow." Ryan growled softly. "Do you hate me that much?" I didn't turn around. If we switched places, you probably would have wanted to kill me. I left decisively. Derek looked extremely frustrated. "I called someone to come for you, and you can't even swallow your pride enough to have a decent conversation." Ryan's face was cold. "Don't interfere. From now on, even if I die, don't call her." Derek felt helpless. "From now on, there won't be a from now on. If you really want to salvage this, then stop being petulant. Actually, I still don't understand. Normally you handle people in situations just fine. So why do you act like an immature child whenever you face Sarah?" Ryan turned to look out the window and said nothing more. He didn't know either. He wanted to talk properly, wanted to bow his head and admit his mistakes. But whenever he faced me, he felt inexplicably sorry for himself. Clearly, he was the one who was wrong, but he still felt sorry for himself, as if I should tolerate him unconditionally, regardless of right and wrong. Ryan was terrified. From the moment he saw me at the airport, he had been living in panic. He desperately wanted to do something, but at the same time, his heart was cold as ash. Knowing that nothing would work, I would not forgive him. The affair with Emma was a mistake. Making a mistake, he wanted to cover it up. So when Derek exposed everything, he had gotten a bit hysterical and blurted out those cruel words. Ryan immediately regretted it. He warned Derek over and over not to repeat his words to anyone, or they wouldn't even be friends anymore. He was even a bit afraid to face me, ashamed, with no dignity left. Ryan knew that this terrible relationship being discarded was only natural. He was just very scared. Emma had come looking for him more than once. She cried and said I was bullying her. I received a court summons demanding I return the money you gave me. That money was yours. What right does she have to ask for it back? Ryan, are you just going to let her humiliate me like this? Ryan found it laughable after hearing this. Actually, I had always been like this, vengeful, very petty. If Emma hadn't falsely accused me, I probably wouldn't have thought to demand that money back. Just like I had said, if I really wanted to deal with Emma, I could have gotten her expelled. Emma still wanted to stay with Ryan. She thought that since Ryan wanted a divorce, she could naturally be with him openly. But she didn't know that Ryan could be with anyone except her. She was a witness to Ryan's depraved life and disgraceful past. She was also like the wrongdoing Ryan had committed a stain. No one wants to keep a stain by their side. Emma had long since spent that money and couldn't pay it back. Ryan covered the debt for her. He told Emma not to look for him anymore, or he would also demand repayment. Emma left in fury, slapping him before she went and calling him fake. Ryan endured it, both the slap and the curses. After being discharged from the hospital, Ryan threw himself completely into work, using it to numb himself until the day of execution arrived. He didn't delay or regret it. He obediently followed me to receive the divorce certificate. I was in great condition, still as confident and radiant as ever. Ryan watched me leave. I suddenly turned back. "Ryan!" apologized to me. Ryan's hands in his pockets trembled. He opened his mouth but couldn't say those 3 words. I looked disappointed and turned to leave. Ryan quickly stepped forward. "Sarah, I'm sorry." I stopped. I waved my hand and continued walking. This time, my retreating figure seemed much lighter, thanks to Emma's love for showing off. I had detailed information about her and Ryan's entire 3-day itinerary. They had ridden roller coasters, soaked in hot springs, gone bungee jumping. These were all things I had never experienced with Ryan. He loved thrills, loved the rush of adrenaline, but I couldn't handle those things. He had once begged me to go tandem bungee jumping with him. He said it would be romantic. He even wanted to take wedding photos that way. But when I stood on the jumping platform, I couldn't step forward. Ryan said it was okay, but I knew he was disappointed, thinking about it now. Ryan and I had too many incompatibilities. When love blinds you, we both said love could overcome any obstacle. Now it seemed like someone had been lying. Ryan walked out of the terminal wearing sunglasses, looking indifferent. Beside him, Emma linked her arm through his, chattering nonstop. She walked lightly, with a bright smile on her face, both innocent and adorable. "Let's come here again next time." "Okay, for your birthday." "This is the first time we've been together for Ryan." I raised my hand and called out loudly. Emma probably didn't hear me and continued talking. Ryan froze. He pushed Emma away and quickly turned to look at me. In that moment, I felt like some kind of monster. Facing me, Emma was still flustered, standing there timidly, wanting to approach Ryan but not daring to. She looked quite pitiful, too. Ryan quickly regained his composure. He told Emma, "Go ahead first." Emma suddenly looked up at Ryan, her mouth pursed in grievance, eyes brimming with tears. She didn't want to leave. So I played the good person. "Let's go together. It's hard to get a ride here." Ryan frowned deeply and sternly told Emma, "Aren't you leaving?" Emma jumped back 2 steps. My face also turned cold. I said, "Together." Emma was quite something. In this situation, any normal person would have fled long ago, but she actually followed along. I walked in front. Ryan followed behind me, and she trailed behind Ryan. Ryan opened the passenger door. About to get in, I stopped him. "There are things in there. Sit in the back. It's not right to leave a young lady sitting alone." Ryan looked at me with an emotionless face, his eyes containing a sea of suppressed feelings. He snorted and slammed the car door shut with a bang, then climbed into the back seat. The atmosphere in the car was truly suffocating. I was the one who broke the silence. "Miss Davis, my husband and I need to talk." Should you come with us, or should I drop you off at school first? Suddenly being addressed, Emma looked a bit confused. I. Ryan suddenly spoke up. What exactly do you want to do? Through the rearview mirror, I glanced at Ryan. His face showed extreme impatience. He was angry. Suppressing his anger, this made me feel perversely pleased. So the smile on my face gradually spread wider. What's your major, Miss Davis? German. I was a bit surprised. Same as me. I have a friend who teaches at your school. I mentioned a name and asked her, do you know her? Emma's face changed, her voice weak. Yes, she's my class advisor. I laughed. What a coincidence. Finally, I dropped Emma off at school. When she got out of the car, she hurried away without looking back. I asked Ryan, do you have a place rented nearby? Let's go sit there for a bit. Ryan's eyes remained fixed on me. He gritted his teeth, word by word. What exactly do you want? I dropped my expression. You made me sick the whole way here. Now let's talk about divorce. We didn't end up going to that rental place. We stayed in the car. Ryan lit a cigarette and fell silent. From the moment I mentioned divorce until now, he hadn't said a word. I also remained silent. After deliberately being disgusting the whole way, I now felt bored. Making him sick was also making myself sick, wasn't it? I took out my cigarette pack and lit one. How long? Ryan's voice was hoarse. What? You smoking? How long? I was 5 years older than Ryan. When he was still in college, I was already working. Back then, as a newcomer to the profession, the pressure was enormous. I started smoking. Ryan forced me to quit. He said, it's bad for your health. He said, I'll buy you candy. He said, if that doesn't work, you can hit me to vent your anger. Just don't smoke anymore. Later, I really did quit, never touching cigarettes again. Until now, it had been 7 or 8 years. But because of this incident, I had relapsed. If you want the specific time, I thought about it and said, the day after you spent the night at Emma's place? Ryan's hand trembled slightly. The cigarette ash fell onto the leather seat before it was finished, immediately burning a hole. Ryan hurriedly brushed it away, but it was too late. Still, he stubbornly tried to smooth it out, over and over. Using more and more force, finally, he lost control completely, exploded, and kicked the car door hard. Damn it, he said. I can't salvage this, and you won't forgive me either. Right? Right. He laughed mockingly and held out his hand toward me. The divorce papers. He didn't read the contents. He flipped to the last page and signed his name. I won't go back to that house anymore. I'll arrange a time to collect my things. After saying this, he decisively got out of the car, leaning against the car door. He spoke to someone on the phone. Come out here. I'm not going back to school tonight. Yeah, I'm waiting for you at the school gate. After hanging up, he raised his eyebrows and looked at me. Contact me when you want to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau. I watched him walk away, feeling strangely empty. This was it. 10 years of marriage ending with such casual indifference. Part of me had expected more drama, more emotion, more something, but Ryan had always been good at compartmentalizing, at shutting down when things got too real. I sat in the car for another 20 minutes, watching students come and go from the university campus. So young, so full of possibilities. Had I ever been that young? Had Ryan? It felt like a lifetime ago. My phone buzzed. A text from Jessica. How did it go? Are you okay? I typed back. He signed. It's done. Coming over, not tonight. I need to think. I drove home slowly, taking the long way. Our house. My house now looked the same as always. Ryan's coffee mug was still in the sink from that morning. His jacket hung on the back of the kitchen chair, little signs of a life that was now ending. I poured myself a glass of wine and sat on the couch, staring at our wedding photo on the mantel. We looked so happy, so certain. Ryan was grinning widely, his arm around my waist. I was laughing at something he had whispered in my ear just before the photographer snapped the picture. "You're stuck with me now." Mensa Walker, he had said, for better or worse. Worse, it turned out, definitely worse. I thought about calling Jessica, or my sister, or anyone really. But what was there to say? That my husband found me disgusting after 30, that he'd fallen for a college girl who looked like a younger version of me. That 10 years of marriage had ended with him signing papers without even reading them. The wine made everything feel softer around the edges, but the hurt was still there, sharp and persistent. I knew I had done the right thing. I knew I deserved better. But knowing something and feeling it are two different things entirely. Around midnight, I finally went to bed. Ryan's side was empty, the sheets still smelling faintly of his cologne. I lay there staring at the ceiling, wondering if this was what freedom felt like. If it was, freedom was lonelier than I had expected. The next morning brought reality crashing back. I had a presentation to give, clients to meet, a life to live. The world didn't stop for heartbreak, which was probably for the best. Work had always been my anchor, and now it would be my salvation. But first, I had to figure out what to do with all of Ryan's things. His clothes still hung in our closet. His books were on our shelves. His life was tangled up with mine in 1,000 small ways that would take time to unravel. I started in the bathroom, throwing his shampoo and razor into a box, then the bedroom, folding his shirts with mechanical precision. Each item felt like a small goodbye, a closing of a door that had been opened with such hope 10 years ago. By the time I finished, I had filled 6 boxes to contain a decade of shared life. It seemed both too much and not nearly enough. I called Mark to come get them. Ryan's brother deserved to know what was happening. Even if Ryan was too proud to tell him himself, "I'll be there in an hour," Mark said when I explained. His voice was carefully neutral, but I could hear the disappointment underneath. He had always liked me, had welcomed me into their family when Ryan and I were young and stubborn and so sure we could make it work. While I waited for Mark, I went through the house one more time, looking for anything I might have missed. In Ryan's desk drawer, I found a photo I hadn't seen in years. It was from our first vacation together, when we had driven to the coast and spent a weekend in a little bed and breakfast. We were sitting on the beach, my head on his shoulder, both of us squinting into the sun. I almost threw it away, but something made me hesitate. Maybe someday I would want to remember that we had been happy once, that it hadn't all been a lie. When Mark arrived, he looked older somehow, tired. "I'm sorry, Sarah," he said, hefting one of the boxes. "I'm sorry it came to this. It's not your fault." I told him, sometimes things just end. He nodded, but I could see he wanted to say more. In the end, he just loaded the boxes into his truck and drove away, taking the last physical traces of Ryan with him. The house felt different after that, empty in a way that had nothing to do with missing furniture. It was the absence of possibility, of a future that would never happen, but it was also clean. In a way, a blank slate. I opened a bottle of champagne that night. The good stuff Ryan and I had been saving for our 10-year anniversary next month. To new beginnings. I toasted myself to whatever came next. It tasted bitter, but I drank it anyway. Do you feel like you're punching cotton? Both frustrated and annoyed. He did that on purpose. I curled my lips and drained my wine glass. I know, maybe I hadn't reacted quickly enough at first, but by now, I had long since recognized the game Ryan was playing. Ryan had always been an extremely arrogant person. His attitude toward people and situations was, "I'm not wrong. Even if I am wrong, what can you do about it?" I understood him. I had also predicted how he would react. But even though I was prepared, facing his indifference still stung. My hand holding the wine glass trembled slightly. I really thought I could at least get an apology. We always hope to receive sincere remorse from those who wrong us, as if only that way can our wounds be soothed. Otherwise, it feels incomplete. From 18 to 28, 10 years. Those were also 10 years of my life. I went from being indifferent to falling deep. He was the one who pulled me in. When he loved me, he gave me honey. When he stopped loving me, he dragged me through hell. He should have said sorry to me. The negative emotions kept churning inside me, making me lose control. I took 2 days off work, staying home and going nowhere. I cried. I cursed. I broke down. Finally, I calmed down because of a phone call from my boss. He said there were adjustments to the contract figures and asked me to revise them quickly. I opened my laptop and focused on work. 2 hours later, I sent him the new contract. Next Wednesday, Director Zhang is coming. You'll accompany me to the meeting. Yes, sir. After finishing work, I collapsed onto the sofa and suddenly felt clarity wash over me. Was I really that pathetic? Ryan was my choice. No one forced me. No one threatened me. So all the consequences that followed, I had to bear myself and take responsibility. If you dare to gamble, you must dare to lose. So Sarah, couldn't I afford to lose? No, I could afford to lose. 3 weeks passed in a blur of work and forced normalcy. I threw myself into projects, stayed late at the office, and accepted every social invitation that came my way. My colleagues probably thought I was having some kind of midlife crisis. The way I suddenly became so available for after-work drinks and weekend conferences. The truth was, I couldn't stand being alone with my thoughts. During the day, I could maintain the facade of being fine, of being the capable marketing director who had her life together. But at night, in the silence of my empty house, the reality would creep in. I had redesigned my entire life around Ryan. Not just the practical things, shared bank accounts, emergency contacts, +1 invitations, but the deeper structure of how I saw myself and my future. We were supposed to travel to Japan next spring. We had talked about maybe trying for kids after my next promotion. We had a 10-year plan, for God's sake. Now I was 33, so single, and starting over. The dating landscape had changed completely since I was last on it. Apps and algorithms had replaced meeting people organically. The idea of putting myself out there again felt both terrifying and exhausting. You know what you need. Jessica said one Friday evening as we shared sushi and sake, you need to have some fun. Remember fun? That thing we used to do before we became responsible adults. I have fun. I protested weakly. Work presentations don't count. I mean real fun, messy fun. The kind that makes good stories later. I picked at my California roll. I don't think I remember how. Then we'll have to remind you. Jessica had that gleam in her eye that usually preceded her more questionable ideas. Girls' trip. Next weekend, Vegas, Jessica. I don't think, nope. No thinking aloud. We're going to gamble away some money. drink too many cocktails, and flirt with inappropriate men. It'll be therapeutic. Despite myself, I smiled. When did you become such a bad influence? The moment my best friend got her heart broken by an immature man-child. Sometimes you need a bad influence. I considered it. The old Sarah would have said no immediately. Too risky, too impulsive, too many ways it could go wrong. But maybe that was exactly why I should say yes. Okay, I heard myself saying, let's do it. Jessica nearly choked on her sake. Really? Just like that. Just like that. But I get to choose the hotel. Deal. Vegas turned out to be exactly what I needed. Though not in the way Jessica had planned. We did gamble, but I found myself drawn to the poker tables rather than the slots, where strategy mattered more than luck. We did drink cocktails, but I discovered I preferred the craft cocktails at the quieter hotel bars to the neon chaos of the main strip. And yes, men approached us, but I found myself deflecting rather than flirting. You're not doing this right. Jessica complained on our second night as I politely declined another offer to buy me a drink. The point is to feel attractive again, to remember that you have options. I do feel attractive, I said, and realized it was true, but I don't need validation from strangers to prove it. What I had discovered in Vegas wasn't a wild side I'd forgotten, but a confidence I'd lost somewhere along the way. For too long, I had defined myself in relation to Ryan as his wife, his partner, the older woman who somehow deserved his infidelity because she'd let herself get disgusting. But sitting at those poker tables, reading faces and calculating odds, I remembered who I was before Ryan. I was smart, strategic, capable of making difficult decisions under pressure. I was someone who could take calculated risks and live with the consequences. You know what? I told Jessica as we packed to leave. I think I'm going to be okay. Of course you are, she said. But it's nice to hear you say it. Back in Portland, I felt different, lighter somehow. I rearranged the furniture in my house, putting everything where I wanted it rather than where Ryan had preferred it. I signed up for a German conversation class to brush up on skills I'd let atrophy. I even bought myself flowers every Friday, just because I could. The divorce would be final in another week. Part of me had expected to feel sadder as the date approached, but instead, I found myself looking forward to it. Not because I wanted to hurt Ryan, but because I wanted to close this chapter completely and see what the next one held. I was at my desk, reviewing quarterly reports, when my assistant knocked on my door. Sarah, there's someone here to see you. He says it's personal. My heart did a little skip. After a month of silence, had Ryan finally come to have the conversation we should have had from the beginning? But when I looked up, it wasn't Ryan standing in my doorway. It was Derek, looking uncomfortable and guilty. Hey, Sarah, can we talk? I gestured to the chair across from my desk. Trying to read his expression, Derek and I had always gotten along well, but we weren't close enough for social visits. If he was here, it was about Ryan. How is he? I asked, because I could see that's what Derek wanted to talk about. Not good. Derek admitted he's been drinking too much, working too much, shutting everyone out. I've tried to talk to him, but you know how he gets. I did know. When Ryan felt cornered or ashamed, he became even more stubborn and isolated. It was a defense mechanism that had served him poorly throughout his life. I'm sorry to hear that, I said carefully. But Derek, if you're here to ask me to, I'm not. He interrupted. I know you're done. And honestly, after what he said about you, I don't blame you, but I'm worried about him. Sarah, really worried. Something cold settled in my stomach. What do you mean? Derek ran his hands through his hair. He's been talking about not seeing the point in much of anything anymore. And yesterday he was asking me about life insurance policies, whether they pay out for accidents. The implications of what Derek was saying hit me like a physical blow. Oh my God. I don't think he'd actually, but I don't know. He's not thinking clearly. The guilt is eating him alive, and he's too proud to ask for help. I stared at Derek, my mind racing. The Ryan I knew could be melodramatic, but he wasn't manipulative. If Derek was genuinely worried, then the situation was serious. What do you want me to do? I asked. I don't know. Maybe if he knew you didn't hate him, that you don't want him to destroy himself over this. I thought about it. Part of me wanted to say it wasn't my responsibility anymore, that Ryan had made his choices and now he had to live with them. But another part of me, the part that had loved him for 10 years, couldn't bear the thought of him hurting himself. I'll think about it, I said finally. But Derek, I can't be his salvation. He needs professional help if he's really talking about hurting himself. Derek nodded. I've tried to suggest that too. He won't listen. After Derek left, I couldn't concentrate on work. I kept thinking about Ryan, about the boy I'd met at the train station all those years ago who had looked so lost and vulnerable. Had I really driven him to this point? Or was this just another manipulation, another way to make me feel guilty for leaving? I called Jessica during my lunch break. Don't you dare, she said before I'd even finished explaining the situation. Sarah, you are not responsible for Ryan's mental health. You are not responsible for saving him from the consequences of his own actions. But what if he actually hurts himself? Then that's his choice. And it has nothing to do with you. You can't set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm, especially someone who already burned you. I knew she was right. Logically, but emotionally, it wasn't that simple. Despite everything Ryan had done, despite the cruel words and the betrayal, I didn't want him to suffer like this. I just wanted him to heal and move on, the way I was trying to do. That evening, I found myself driving past the hospital where Derek had said Ryan was treated for alcohol poisoning. I didn't go in, I wasn't ready for that, but I sat in the parking lot for a while. Trying to sort through my feelings, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Sarah, this is Mark. Can we talk? It's about Ryan. I stared at the message for a long time before responding. Call me. My phone rang immediately. Sarah, thank you for answering. I know this is awkward, but I'm worried about my brother. Derek came to see me today. I said. He told me Ryan's been struggling. It's worse than struggling, Mark said grimly. He's been staying at my place for the past week because Derek and I are afraid to leave him alone. He's not eating, barely sleeping, and he keeps talking about how he's ruined everything. Mark, I don't know what you want me to do. I can't just pretend the affair didn't happen. I can't go back to him. I'm not asking you to. What he did was unforgivable, and you have every right to move on. But Sarah, he's not the same person right now. The guilt and shame have broken something in him. I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of impossible decisions. What exactly are you asking of me? Just, could you see him? Once, you don't have to forgive him or take him back. Just let him apologize properly. Let him say what he should have said from the beginning. Maybe if he can do that, he can start to forgive himself. And if I say no, Mark was quiet for a moment. Then I'll keep trying to help him through this. But I can't guarantee he won't do something stupid. After I hung up, I sat in that hospital parking lot for another hour, watching people come and go, families dealing with crises, doctors making life and death decisions, ordinary people facing extraordinary circumstances. I thought about the last time I'd seen Ryan, how broken he'd looked when he finally managed to say, "I'm sorry." I thought about the young man who had once promised to love me forever, who had given up his family's approval to be with me. I thought about who I wanted to be, not just in relation to Ryan, but as a person navigating a complicated world. Did I want to be someone who walked away when things got messy? Or someone who could extend compassion even to those who had hurt me? By the time I drove home, I had made my decision. I texted Mark back. One conversation. That's all. Somewhere public. The response came immediately. Thank you. I'll arrange it. I spent the rest of the evening wondering if I was making a mistake, if I was opening myself up to more pain, if I was being weak instead of compassionate. But as I got ready for bed, I realized something. This wasn't really about Ryan anymore. This was about me and the kind of person I wanted to be. I wanted to be someone who could face difficult situations with grace, who could separate my own healing from someone else's pain, who could offer closure even when I hadn't received it myself. The old Sarah might have been too afraid of getting hurt again to take this risk. But the new Sarah, the one who had learned to play poker in Vegas, who had rearranged her furniture, who bought herself flowers, was strong enough to have one final conversation, whatever happened next. I would handle it. I was learning that I could handle anything. 2 days later, I found myself sitting in a coffee shop downtown, arriving 15 minutes early because I needed time to steel myself for what was coming. I chose a table near the window where I could see the street, giving myself an escape route if needed. Ryan arrived exactly on time, which surprised me. The man I had been married to was chronically late to everything except work. He looked thin, almost gaunt, with dark circles under his eyes that suggested Derek and Mark's concerns were well-founded. He approached the table hesitantly, as if unsure whether I might change my mind and leave. "Sarah, thank you for agreeing to this." I nodded toward the chair across from me. "Sit down." Ryan. He ordered coffee he didn't drink and spent the first few minutes staring at his hands. I waited. This meeting had been his idea. Channeled through his brother, he could figure out how to start it. "I've been trying to figure out what to say to you." He finally began. I've written it down probably 50 times. But nothing seems adequate. Try anyway. He looked up at me then, and I was struck by how young he looked. Not young in an attractive way, but young in a lost, frightened way that reminded me uncomfortably of the 18-year-old I'd picked up at the train station. "I'm sorry," he said, "not just for the affair, but for how I handled everything after, for the things I said about you to Derek, for being too much of a coward to face what I'd done, for trying to make you the villain in my head so I could live with myself." I sipped my latte and studied his face. "Go on. The thing is, I don't even know why I did it. That's what's been driving me crazy. It wasn't like I fell in love with Emma or suddenly realized I didn't love you anymore. It was more like I was trying to prove something to myself that I can't even articulate." "Prove what?" Ryan ran his hands through his hair, a gesture I remembered from countless arguments and difficult conversations. That I was still the same person I was at 18. I guess that I hadn't gotten old and boring and settled. God, I don't know. It sounds so stupid when I say it out loud. It does sound stupid, I agreed, but keep going. When we started having problems in bed, when you were so stressed about work, I felt rejected, not just sexually, but like you didn't need me anymore. You were so capable, so successful, and I started feeling like this useless appendage to your life. I felt a flicker of anger, so you decided to cheat instead of talking to me about it. I know how it sounds, but Sarah, I tried to talk to you. You were working 18-hour days, falling asleep at your laptop. When I tried to bring up how disconnected we'd become, you'd say after this project or once I get the promotion. There was always something else taking priority. I wanted to argue, but I could remember those conversations. I could remember pushing him away, both physically and emotionally, telling myself it was temporary while my career demands consumed everything. That still doesn't justify the affair. I said, no, it doesn't. Nothing justifies it. But I need you to understand that it wasn't about you not being enough. It was about me feeling like I wasn't enough. So you found someone who made you feel like you were. Ryan shook his head. Emma didn't make me feel like anything real. She was an escape, I guess. A way to pretend I was someone I wasn't. Someone who didn't have real responsibilities or a real relationship with real problems. I thought about Emma, about her youth and her apparent adoration of Ryan. She reminded you of me when I was younger. Yeah, he admitted quietly. But not in the way you think. It wasn't that I wanted a younger version of you. It was that being with her made me feel like a younger version of myself. Before I got scared about getting older, about whether I was successful enough, about whether I was the kind of man you deserved. Ryan, I started, then stopped. Part of me wanted to comfort him, to tell him that his fears had been unfounded, that I had loved him exactly as he was. But another part of me recognized the selfishness in his reasoning, how he had made his insecurities my problem to solve. I know I hurt you, he continued. I know saying I was disgusted by you was the cruelest thing I could have said, and I know it wasn't even true. I was disgusted by myself, by what I was doing, and I projected that onto you because it was easier than facing my own shame. Do you know what that word did to me? I asked quietly. Do you know how many nights I've laid awake wondering if I really am disgusting now that I'm over 30? Ryan's face crumpled. Sarah, no, you're beautiful. You've always been beautiful. The problem was never with you. It was with me being too immature to handle the reality of adult life. I believed him, which was both a relief and a fresh source of pain. If he could see it so clearly now, why hadn't he been able to see it before he destroyed everything? I've been going to therapy, he said, twice a week, trying to figure out why I sabotaged the best thing in my life. And what has your therapist told you? That I have some serious issues with self-worth and commitment. That I was afraid of growing up and chose the most destructive possible way to avoid it. That I need to learn how to communicate instead of acting out. He paused. And that I need to accept that some mistakes can't be fixed. We sat in silence for a while, watching people walk by outside. Normal people going about their normal days. Not sitting in coffee shops trying to parse the wreckage of their marriages. What do you want from me? Ryan, I asked finally. Nothing, he said, and I could hear that he meant it. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect another chance. I just needed you to know that I understand what I did to you, and that I'm sorry, really, genuinely sorry. And the self-destructive behavior Derek is worried about, Ryan looked embarrassed. I'm not going to hurt myself, if that's what you're asking. I was in a dark place for a while, but therapy is helping. I was just drowning in guilt and shame and didn't know how to process it. Good, I said, because despite everything, I don't want you to suffer like that. Why? He asked. After what I put you through, why do you care? I considered the question because I loved you for 10 years. That doesn't just disappear because you hurt me. I can be angry at you and disappointed in you and still not want you to destroy yourself. Ryan's eyes filled with tears. I loved you too. I still do. I know I have no right to say that, but it's true. I know, I said softly, but love isn't enough sometimes. Is it? No. He agreed. It's not. I finished my latte and checked my watch. We'd been talking for almost 2 hours, and I could feel the emotional exhaustion setting in. I should go, I said, gathering my purse. Sarah. Wait. Ryan reached across the table as if to touch my hand, then stopped himself. Can I ask you something? What? Are you going to be okay? Really okay? I smiled, and for the first time in months, it felt genuine. Yeah. Ryan, I think I'm learning to be okay on my own. I'm glad, he said. You deserve to be happy. I stood up and looked down at him one last time. He looked older than his 28 years now, aged by the consequences of his choices. But he also looked like he might eventually find his way to becoming the man he should have been all along. Take care of yourself, I said. You too. I walked out of the coffee shop and into the late afternoon sunshine, feeling something I hadn't expected. Peace, not happiness exactly, and certainly not forgiveness, but a sense of completion. We had finally had the conversation we should have had from the beginning. My phone buzzed as I reached my car. A text from Jessica. How did it go? I typed back. It went well. I'll tell you about it later. Right now, I just want to go home. Are you okay? I thought about it as I started the car. Yeah, I really think I am. As I drove home, I realized something had shifted inside me. The anger was still there, but it was no longer consuming. The hurt was still there, but it was no longer defining me. I had heard Ryan's apology, understood his motivations, and somehow that had freed me to truly begin moving forward. The divorce would be final in 3 days. Instead of dreading it, I found myself looking forward to it not as an end, but as a beginning, a chance to discover who Sarah Chen was when she wasn't half of a couple, when she wasn't trying to be the perfect wife to an imperfect man. I had loved deeply and been loved deeply, even if it hadn't lasted. I had been betrayed and had survived it. I had learned that I was stronger than I'd thought, more resilient than I'd imagined. Most importantly, I had learned that my worth wasn't determined by whether someone else found me desirable. At 33, I wasn't disgusting or used up or past my prime. I was experienced, wise, and finally comfortable in my own skin. The future stretched ahead of me, uncertain but full of possibility. For the first time in months, that felt like a gift rather than a burden.